Hey, today we're joined by Chairman Terry England from Barrow County. Representative England, elected in 2004. His first session was 2005. Serves as the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. And in that role, he is one of the three conferees towards the end of session when the House and Senate reconcile the final budget. Thanks for sitting down with us today.
Glad to be with you, Bernie.
Well, tell us a little bit about and describe the budget process in Georgia. Obviously, we have a balanced budget. That's a constitutional mandate. And in recent years, as we've seen revenues decline and now come back up, we've had to weigh certain priorities. Would you explain that process and how the budget is crafted?
Well, everybody likens it a lot of times, of course, to making sausage, and it does resemble that sometimes. But over the last several years, of course, with the downturn in the economy that really hit us in 2008, 2009, we've had to make very tough cuts. Some of those in education, some in health care, some in public safety, just all across the gamut of state services. It's allowed us to do a couple things that otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do, and one of those, most importantly, is to actually sit down and look at the value of each of the services that we provide as a state. Is it something we should still be in? Was it something started 70 years ago that the private sector now can do better and cheaper than we can, and we need to get out of? So we've gone through a lot of that. It's allowed us to really hone in a lot closer on agencies and make sure that money is being spent as effectively and efficiently as it can be. The governor, as last year and this year, has requested agencies do an additional 2% cut, 2% cut in the amended budget, which we call the baby budget, and then the big budget, he also asked for a 2% agency cut there. And what that does is allow those agencies, or makes the agencies, go back in and hone in a little bit closer and just make sure that what they're doing is the things that give the biggest return for the dollar invested there. So it's allowed us to go in and look. Not all of those 2% have been taken. Some have been left in, some have been rearranged. And so you see some agencies that come out with a 1% cut or no cut, depending on what their services are. Our priority always remains with the state and with myself and the House as a priority is K-12 education and higher ed. Of course, when you add the two of those together, you're looking at just a little over 50% of the budget. 56% of the budget goes to those two items. K-12 education alone goes to about 45% of the budget. So a lot of what the state collects as revenue, which is your tax dollars, my tax dollars, goes toward education in our state. With that said, there's still shortcomings in funding, and we've been working for the last couple of years to try to make up those shortcomings. And you hear a lot about QBE, that's Quality Basic Education Program that started in 1985. Right now it's currently underfunded at about $1.1 billion, and so we've been looking at ways to remedy that and add some of those funds back. Probably over the next couple of years, just trying to give the local school systems a little bit of a cushion that they've lost. They've gone through reserves, so now they've basically cut about as far as they can, and so it's starting to kind of get in a dangerous zone. We're looking at having to let teachers go or furlough teachers. So again, that remains a priority. Public safety, of course, is mandated in the Constitution. That's a priority as always, not only state patrol, but also Department of Corrections with prisons and those sorts of things. So those are kind of a real quick 30,000-foot view of what we look at. You also have the social services issue that are a large portion of our budget, and of course bring down a large amount of federal dollars that are spent. Our budget right now is about $18.5 million in state funds and about that much more in federal funds. So you're looking at a total state budget that's about $35 billion. And like I say, about half of that state, about half of that's federal.
Well, and as you said, with these cuts that we've had to make, they're kind of a blessing in disguise because it's allowed us to reprioritize and focus on the core services so that when revenues do return, we can, allocate them properly. The other question I wanted to ask you is, you're a small business owner in Winder with a store. What are some of the things that the legislature this year is going to do to help small business owners?
Well, always we hear constantly from constituents about the red tape and the bureaucracy that we have to go through to get business licenses, to do different things, to be able to work with the state government, bid on state contracts. Speaker Ralston announced several weeks ago through Chairman David Knight's Committee on Small Business Development the Red Tape Watch. And what we're asking is that local businesses that are having problems with state government on the smallest of issues to come tell us about those issues so that we can remedy those problems either through statute on our side or dealing with the agency and getting them to ease off on those rules and regulations. That is a very important piece. Of course, then you look at education falls back in that again too, because we've got to have an educated workforce in our state. And so we're looking at our technical college system and making sure that they're equipped and tooled the way they need to be tooled to train workers to go to work immediately for small businesses like myself in the retail business, but not only that, but even manufacturers. So trying to do a quick turnaround on training for employees. Several other small initiatives that are going on that are just going to try to simplify the life of small business owners.
That's great. Well, thanks for sitting down with us today, and we appreciate your leadership. And you have many friends in North Fulton, even though you are not from Fulton County. But we appreciate you sitting down and let us know if we can ever be of any help to you.
Always glad to.
Thank you.